is just fantastic.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be continuing the Imallexx Returns stuff, because since his first video and Alice's response on Twitter debunking some of his claims, he has gone to a Google Doc, a 4-page Google Doc, to debunk her debunking him? Yeah? Okay. It's turd flinging season, everyone. Of course that's what's going to happen. Now, in the first video, I did state that there is blame on both sides within this. There really is blame on both sides, and I'm not going to say one is worse than the other, because I can't be arsed. The fact that Alex can't accept any guilt beyond any racial language he used is astonishing. But it's what you get for being an internet sensation, am I right, folks? All that ego can't shelve your pride long enough to accept wrongdoing. And there was obvious wrongdoing. We showed the clip of you threatening to bash someone's brain in with a brick. Remember that? Yes. Who was that someone again? Now, to save us within this video, having to go to the first video to show you relevant clips, I'm going to link the first video down below, because really it's got plenty of the context within it. Now, I didn't even cover his entire hour-and-a-half omnibus video, because I didn't need to drive home my points. I really didn't. And a lot of it, as we went further in, became remarkably repetitive and circular. We didn't need that, and you don't need it either. I will still happily do a part 2 to it if people want it, but let's face it, there's no need to, is there? Especially as he has escalated to the realm of the Google document. I'm so excited, and it's only 4 pages, so we at least get to see how his mind works. It was either this or Keffel's coming back to the internet for a birthday stream. I think I chose right. Maybe tomorrow on the Keffy Poop stuff. Now, since that first video, he has garnered a lot more viewership, nearly 400,000 at time of recording. The like to dislike, though, has shifted massively. It is now 7.7k up to 20k down. Top comment is still Repsion, next to someone saying, "This took so long, I completely forgot bro existed." Repsion's would be above because he's got that check mark. Yeah. So we now know, after 4 days of this video being in the public space, the public are not on his side. Whether he will continue as a creator after this, I have no idea, and truthfully don't actually care. At some point, one of them has to blink him to shelve his ego long enough to get on with what he likes to do, if this is still something he wishes to do. That's not to say I'm giving him a chance, because I couldn't care less. That's up to the court of public opinion, not this lowly oik behind a microphone. So to the Google document. I know you're all so excited, I have no doubt in my mind you're all just moist at the idea of reading this. Since my video response, Alice has posted that she filed a police report on the 27th of May 2024. Alice says she refuses to watch my video despite making many claims about it which are untrue. Now, I did show those tweets in the video because they are pertinent information, and there are many statements he made quite early on stating that he never faced any criminal proceedings, so no report could have been filed. He led with that on purpose. He cites 2 tweets of Alice saying she won't watch the video, and of course the police report tweet. The stories that are in this report have been fabricated, as I have shown in my video. Alice falsely accused me of pulling her to the ground and putting her in a headlock on the 2nd day of living together in the report, despite her writing in her document that it happened on the 4th. There is no evidence to back up these claims in Alice's story, as it is untrue, and I have addressed this in my video. Included is a timestamp of him addressing this claim. I never claimed Alice didn't file a report, as the police report can be filed on anyone at any time for any reason, whether that is claimed in that report is true or not. Actually, you kinda did, because what you did with your framing was you inferred that because it didn't go any further, this was nothing. It couldn't have happened because if it had, it would have led to. That is what you inferred. I remember this because I quite clearly pointed out how you were leading it. You were intentionally framing it a particular way, as a bit of a scapegoat really, to give yourself an out if one presented itself and you're just being pedantic, pointlessly pedantic. I also want to go back to the 2nd and 4th day of living together. This toxicity is terrible, isn't it? We in heats of moments say stupid things. I'm not justifying anyone telling a lie, but the fact that that is a point you feel has to be latched onto seems a bit redundant really. Whether it be the 2nd, 4th, 100th, 1 millionth, it doesn't matter. It is claimed to have happened. The day is just you attempting to poison, nothing more. Back to the document though. It would not be possible for me to know at any point if this had happened because a report is not a proper investigation or a guilty verdict. All this does is show that there wasn't an investigation and that no charges were pressed, which is what I corrected in my video as Alice had posted that this was the case, which was untrue. Notice the part that is being dismissed and ignored here, because you tried to downplay any form of legal ramification, any kind of process that was implemented briefly. And my response to this in the first video was, yes, Kent police do suck at actually dealing with problems. At no point have I been approached by police in any way, shape or form, yet Alice claimed she had pressed charges against me and had done everything she could. You do realise that she could have done everything she could, but may not have had enough evidence to take it, for the police anyway, to take it any further, right? They would have started an investigation and looked into it, and if they hadn't got enough information, that's it. She can still try to press charges, right? You do know that to be the case, surely. She apparently had the option to take it further, which, once again, is the point she made in the video, as Alice had been claiming otherwise online, whilst also telling commentary channels that police had done nothing, despite now saying the police had given her the option to take this to court, which she now says she declined. At no point has this been consistent, and the story has changed constantly. Included a timestamp to his video saying the police had done nothing. This became a recurring argument throughout the entire video though. The police had done nothing, the police did nothing, no legal ramifications, no consequences. Because you were trying to make it seem like Alice had done nothing, because she had nothing. That was your entire point. You may try and say it was otherwise, because mental gymnastics and you are very close friends. But the point remains, that's how many of us took it. It's why your video has been so universally reviled. There are still many comments saying both of you have problems and you're toxic as feck. I agree with that. But the way you are playing this and portraying it shows a remarkable ineptitude on your part to simply accept that you could be wrong. After 4 sources, he continues by saying Alice has gone on to post that she never kicked me despite admitting to this in the very messages she is responding to. Now, interestingly, with the physical side of the ABUSE, in your video you flashed them on screen so fast because, and many people in your comments and on Twitter had said, you were doing it because you are going to cite them throughout the course of the video, which meant you didn't have to have them on the screen long. Actually, you kinda did, because the context of the language was really important, as it showed how you interacted in differing mental states, right? When you're angry, when you're being playful, you see what I mean? When you're being open and honest and upfront with each other. Don't forget here, when this all broke last year, and she showed messages from you were looking obsessive as feck. You then did the same thing, but boing flipped it to her being the obsessive. In truth, any of us know who's actually the more obsessive. All we know is that trait is very much a thing you have definitely got in possession. Abundance, right? No one is denying any physicality between the two of you, except for you. But the threats you made fall under manipulative and coercive, because you were definitely that. Again, that brick video does you no favours. 100% doesn't. You can try and frame it differently, but the fact is, it is immutable. It certainly wasn't a deepfake, and don't try us. Nobody wants to deepfake you. I made it incredibly clear in the video that Alice refuses to watch, that we were both lying down in our bed. She had turned around with my back facing towards her, and she began to kick me until I fell out of bed. Alice says I didn't explain the context as to why she did this, but I did, and it's in the screenshots that she replied to. It was due to my illness and being shirtless in bed. I complained about this happening on other occasions over text, which is also in my video. Alice says there's no text evidence of her kicking, despite the screenshots she has responded to clearly showing Alice admitting to kicking me, and that she had a reason for why she had done this, as it was due to me sleeping shirtless. I know there are a number of very obvious sarcastic jokes that can be inserted here. Not going to play with fire on this one. I do want to state though, both of you contradicted each other regularly in these message exchanges and what you shared. In the case of Alice, it was what she deleted, what she cropped, what she removed entirely. Editing, deleting, anything in that territory. Alice fell prey to that, and it made it look like she was reframing everything from the offset. This included deleting replies, questioning much of what she had claimed in the Google Doc last year. In your case, you've solely framed it so that Alice is at fault. But we all know that's not the truth, because you didn't show any of the screenshots she had, even though you made it quite clear that hers weren't showing the full context. You were very selective, and again, you only showed certain things that were on the screen briefly. You mentioned in your video, for example, BPD, yet when I quite obviously pointed out, a discrepancy, you didn't address that discrepancy at all. The discrepancy was you weren't diagnosed until 2 months after this all broke, yet you were claiming that you had it without being diagnosed. right? I think that's important. Your own hypocrisy and your own contradictions can be highlighted in the very evidence you present, basically. Now, after much turd flinging, we're going to skip slightly. Alice calls into question there being no text, despite that being untrue, yet has posted in a document and in a police report that I dragged her, choked her, pulled her to the floor, which there's no text evidence for, as I've shown in my video. Since posting these tweets, Alice deleted a reply where she had said she hadn't fabricated anything when questioned on Twitter about the inconsistencies of her story. Included is a link to the deleted tweet in question. Now, interesting to point out here, much of what both have used centers around them documenting everything in text form. DV is so much harder to prove in text form alone, because much of it, screenshot especially, can be manipulated. A screen recording of the chat logs might stand a better chance, but actually the best is going straight to the police, right? That's your best option. Proving the physical side with damage done to you. Neither of you did this. Neither of you. And you might say, yes, but I believed in the good. I'll be honest. If either of you had committed anything physical or emotionally manipulative coercive towards the other person that falls within the bracket of DV, you should have immediately gone to the police. I know hindsight 2020 blah blah. I ain't no captain. I'm stating the moment you know you've been harmed by somebody, you get out. But apparently this toxicity, well, apparently you both loved it enough to keep it in place. And it didn't take long upon moving in together, according to both of you, for it to utterly fall apart. Both of you blaming each other. Neither of you being able to prove definitively what happened, but there is enough evidence on the internet to say that Alex does have within him a rather substantial amount of guilt. Well, I say has within him, levied at him, as he doesn't recognise any form of guilt for responsibility on his part, beyond using racial slurs. Alice wrote in her report that I was harassing her despite me trying to end our relationship multiple times. Alice told the police I was harassing her by sending her letters and a bear, two things that she had asked me to do, which she then used to build her story to the police and document. Alice has also made a post saying he got his diagnosis after we split and wasn't in contact anymore. I made it clear in the video that I was not diagnosed at the time, and then Alice was spreading false information which I had to correct publicly, as it is not true. I am not comfortable with my personal information being speculated on publicly by my ex-girlfriend, who is no longer in my life, but due to the constant posts Alice was making about me, I felt I was forced to correct this. But you, Alex, used your BPD as a shield, saying that she was a liar for saying you didn't have it. And you didn't have it, or a diagnosis confirming it, until after the fact. So your entire argument there was poisoning the well again. You do this a lot throughout your entire hour-and-a-half omnibus of bollocks. You know I'm right, by the way. You can't go around claiming you have something and say, but I do now have it, so all your times accusing me of it in the past, they were wrong. That's haram! But it's not. You used it as a shield, and you failed miserably, again because of the inconsistency. On to page 3. Regardless, this isn't an excuse for my behaviour, which I made clear in the video and in my psychiatric document where I openly discussed being verbally that word towards her with my psychiatrist. I apologise many times privately to Alice for how unacceptable it was, which can be seen throughout the video as I tried to sort this out privately on many occasions. I am deeply sorry for things turning out this way. It is my responsibility to be better. The problem with this, and you did segment this and you did go through this, I will fully agree with that, is that you spent so long blaming Alice that this part carried so little weight. It carried so little weight because of how many interpreted the first part that led up to this. Acknowledging your wrongs is totally fine, but can you tell me anyone made it that far anyway, when all they heard from the first half an hour was interpreted by many as gaslighting, and or a form of revisionism, because again, you both come at this with the other person is solely at fault. Again, with what is available on you, we know you're at fault for much. We know you are. Her Google Doc may have been done in haste and edited multiple times, but a lot of the evidence in there really didn't help you. And the fact you took so long to respond didn't help you either. So the apology is often interpreted as insincere. It's why you got mass downvoted. I fully support any person coming out to try to clear their name, and of course clear the air. Problem with that is, in this realm of employment as it were, when you try and do something like that, the apology is often purity tested by many people. It's again why you were mass downvoted, because people found it wanting, and they felt that it wasn't right to introduce that after spending so long debunking everything she had said and accused you of before. I had said it was poisoning the well. I stand by that. Now he carries on by discussing that Alice had planned the document since January, and claims that she had been blackmailing him throughout the relationship with the reactions to her physical ABUSE as showed in the video. Alice had always intended to publicise a false version of an incredibly toxic and APUSIVE relationship, and he apologises for his involvement in that. Timestamps included the document in advance and taking of Alex's phone. These, to be honest, aren't necessarily contentious, they just lend credence to the belief that both are toxic. On the last page, it is proof of the video not being monetised at all, and that there was a copyright for a song as well. At the end, it has since been brought to my attention that Alice is deleting comments and has privated her Instagram and TikTok comment sections due to the harassment online. Not wishing anyone to suffer that, I fully support this, by the way. Although, regret this is played up publicly, since both you in the public space, that's not a surprise. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know what this achieves. I don't get what it's trying to achieve either. You're trying to debunk over one tweet, essentially, and a bunch of statements of not seeing your video. I could believe that's the case if clips of it had been shared on Twitter. People will have seen that, they would have informed her of it. I don't think she needs to sit there for an hour and a half to listen to you rail her, and then listen to you apologise at a point. Anyway, tell me what you think in the comments down below. If you did enjoy me just reading somebody's Google Doc, smash the like. If I don't see you on Twitch later for Star Trucker, hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you all so much for listening.